draft conspiracy theory because John Lynch said that Aaron Banks is the expectation he'll play left guard and likely it'll be Daniel Brunskill at right guard. That's kind of the expectation, right? But who is the center? We know who the left tackle is, and we know who they expect the right tackle is. Who is the center? He was asked about Alex Mack, who just got married in Ireland. And
that's why Kittle and Juszczyk were across the pond.
Yes, they were at Alex Mack's wedding. And what Lynch said is he's training like he's coming back. I won't speak for him, but all signs are that he's coming back. So there's some feeling that Alex Mack might retire, and no one's quite sure because Alex hasn't said that he's definitely coming back. So maybe he's just thinking about it, and that happens. Sometimes you're just thinking about it. But when I heard John say that, I started thinking about Joe Staley, who, remember, was coming back or not coming back. We'll see. Joe's going to give us an answer soon. And then in 2020, after the Niners traded for Trent Williams, Joe Staley retired. And it turned out that Staley and the Niners had agreed that Staley would just kind of stay quiet, help the Niners with a little leverage so it wasn't obvious that they needed a left tackle. And then once they did what they needed to do, then he was free. He cooperated with the Niners. I did wonder, clearly the Niners need a center, and they're not afraid to draft offensive linemen high. Most teams do it. I think they might be targeting a center in this draft, and they need people to think that Alex Mack might be their center this year. So it's a little harder. Remember what happened last year in the draft? People felt like they knew who the Niners wanted to draft the offensive lineman. They got jumped in the second round, so then they traded back and ended up drafting Jalen Moore. I think, was it Liam Eichenberg, the guy that people thought they liked and that they liked?
The other Notre Dame guy, right?
And they got jumped, and then that's when they traded back.
The Dolphins jump him?
Is that where he is?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So, and that's when they traded back. I think maybe they just, if Alex Mack were to retire today, everyone in the draft would know the Niners want a center, need a center.
Dolphins second round pick.
Yeah. So Niners need a center.
Do you think Liam Eichenberg celebrates Hanukkah?
The Liam makes me think yes. The Eichenberg makes me think maybe not. But I'm going to go with yes based on the Liam.
Yeah. Eichenberg, the Berg doesn't.
Be a German Jew.
Yeah.
The Berg is also yes, but the Eichen is not, so that's German.
The one thing, I hear what you're saying, there's probably a short, and maybe it's just because, there's not 15 centers, right? They're just going to be, there's probably 4 or 5 guys that are viewed in the draft that, we could draft this guy and he could start. So, but if I was another team that needed a center, because part of what you do as a scouting department, and you do this going into free agency, it's why, trades happen. When teams are willing to, if I'm willing to trade Tyreek Hill, you go, who would need a wide receiver, right? And that's what the big players. But even just random players, you go, well, what would be the 49ers' needs going into the draft? You would say, well, they have a 36, 37-year-old center, and their offensive – you would just say offensive line. If you and I were the Rams or the Cowboys or whatever, and we were just in the vicinity with the Niners drafting, you want to know the team needs. Now, really, with the draft, because you're always trading, you need to know everyone's. In Philly, we had this board that had, team needs, and basically their main 3. So you could just look up and be like, this could be a sweet spot for them to take this. So, but I do think it speaks to Kyle because if he does retire, the Niners literally would not have a center, right? They would 100% either need to sign one or draft one immediately, where they could be like, well, we'll just see what happens. So it's Alex doing them a huge favor.
That's a good point, though. You're saying if you're another team, the Niners are going to need a center. It might be today, it might be tomorrow, as in 2023, but they're going to need one soon.
But if I told you, pick 61, instead of taking a center, they took a guard, they're like, I think we could play both. That wouldn't be shocking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe there are guys in the draft that can do both, right?
Guard, clearly, center. Interior lineman is absolutely going to have an immediate need for them.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, if you could pull over your center rankings for this year's draft, John, and we could start at number 13 maybe and count backwards.
I just know about the Iowa guy that everyone loves.
Linderbaum.
Yeah, Linderbaum. A lot of hype for Linderbaum.
There's also Arizona State's Donovan West is actually also high on that list. And
I think we have seen a long history. When I was in, I've listened to enough Daniel Jeremiah to know that name. You should, and my pushback always in center is like, you don't have to take the center. I think Alex Mack might have been a first-round pick. Like, there have been guys over the years that get drafted really high, interior offensive linemen. There's also, like, when I was in Philly, we drafted Jason Kelsey, I think, in the 6th round. This guy's going to go to the Hall of Fame. The dude that signed with the Chargers last year, Lindley, that the Packers drafted, I think was a 5th-round pick. Like, you can find centers, because I think people will be like, well, you got to draft an interior offensive lineman with one of those top 3 picks, right, in the second day. I think you can find him a little later.